All right, race fans, welcome to the 2016 Northwest Race Car Show presented by Jetstream Aqua Massage and Moxie Media Promotions. My name is Corey Penfold with Moxie Media Promotions, being joined for our first scheduled interview of the day with the Axeman, Terry Hall. Terry brought in his sprint car here for the car show, and a fine-looking ride. Got some great sponsors on that. Terry, you got a whole display over here. You guys are selling merchandise and games for the kids and giveaways. It's been a lot of fun here so far this weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah, and my wife she's really into helping being with the kids and the fans, and she gets a lot of enjoyment at it. And so do I, seeing the kids smiling and everything, and that's what racing's all about.
Well, and checking out all the displays here, you guys have definitely got the most interactive with the fans and the kids, and you got games set up here for the kids, and they're really loving it. Handaways, you got the spin to win wheel, kids are winning prizes, and your wife, talk about a marketing guru. Boy, she works hard to get that team marketed and some of the sponsors on the ride there.
Yeah, she does, and she really enjoys marketing, and she really loves the kids too. That's the way Carlotta is and stuff, and I do too, and that's the future of racing with the kids, and then the fans, regular fans too. They enjoy it. They got to be a part of it.
Well, you guys do a great job, even at the racetrack, bringing the fans down to the pit area and all kinds of cool stuff you guys do for the fans with giveaways and in the grandstands as well. But you're the only sprint car here in attendance. We kind of talked about this for a couple months of the car show. You were going to bring the late model, but it wasn't quite done. A little bit of repair after the big wreck last year at Willamette Speedway. I know we talked about you're going to have that car ready at some point this year, but right now the sprint car has kind of become the forefront of your racing program, correct?
Yeah, we used to race sprints a lot there, and so we're excited about bringing it back and going back and doing it again. I'm getting a little older; it's going to hurt a little bit more this time, but we're still looking forward to it and enjoy it.
So on your sprint car schedule, we've got them set out here at the Moxie table, kind of checking it out. How many races do you have planned so far in 2016 for the sprint car, and when do you think you're going to have the late model back out here in the Northwest?
The late model will be out in June. We have a commitment with the sponsors. It starts about June with the late. We want to hit the big races with the late model, and then we have a commitment with the sprint too. So we'll just meet our commitment that we've made.
Well, it's going to be a demanding schedule regardless of whatever car you're going to be in, because you're going to be bouncing around from a few different tracks between both cars, and with you guys do a lot with your sponsors as far as bringing the cars to their place to display them, and you guys do an excellent job with your sponsors, and I think that's why you see the sponsors on your ride that you guys have.
Yeah, mostly Carlotta really works closely with the sponsors, giving them everything she can, and then we try and present a good car. And and the sponsors enjoy it. You get them. We involve the sponsors, and then they enjoy it and stuff. And that's neat. When the sponsors into it, it makes it even better when they're really into it.
No doubt about that. You guys do a great job getting your sponsors pumped up. But you've had a pretty good racing career. I remember watching you when I was a kid out at Willamette Speedway, and I'm not sure when I think about Terry Hall. One of the things I really remember about your career was I think there was an injury of some sort, and you put Johnny Schuler in the old Super Sport. Between the two of you, I think you guys won just about every race there was to win that year.
Yeah, Johnny was a heck of a shoe at that time, and it was really neat to have him in the car. And Johnny taught me a few things too. He come right out of the Outlaws, and he's really a good guy and stuff. And it was a neat experience all the way around.
Well, he's a former hot shoe in his day, and it really carried his talent over into your program. And he was racing the Outlaw, the wedge cars there at Willamette Speedway. You were in the Super Sport, kind of a real unique class that's really starting to come back at the track with the sideboards and no tops and on the asphalt slick tires, really making a distinguish between the two cars. But it's been a real neat watching you kind of pop in and out, and now you're back the last 4 or 5 years and got a really solid program underneath you. And I know it's been a lot of work. You had a big injury logging. Now you got a dangerous job and a dangerous hobby. But let's kind of talk about why you left the sport a little bit because of the injury, and then what prompted you to come back.
Yeah, we left the sport because I was pretty crippled up. It took about a year and a half of rehab before I could get around very good. And then before that happened, we had a pretty good wreck in a sprint car and kind of rattled my cage. But then we got back healthy again, and we got decided to go back into late model racing. And it had changed a lot since I did it. With the rear steer and the 4-bar systems, new suspensions in the late models, a totally different deal. But the guys were real helpful. I didn't figure it out, but a lot of the guys showed me what to do, and it was a slow process, but we're starting to understand it better and get a little better. And it's been a neat thing getting back with the racers and the fans.
Well, and you've got a huge fan base already, but let's talk about that, because that was something that kind of came up in a couple of interviews yesterday with Darren Koffel and Doug Davenport, and talking about not just the sport changing, but how much these cars have changed. Because back in your day, when you were winning the races and really the up front, one of the top guys in your class, it was all about the swing arm Rayburn. Everybody was winning on the Rayburn with the swing arm. Now you've got, like you talk about, the 4-bar cars with a numerous different setups you can put underneath you, and it's really changed a lot. What's been the hardest thing to maybe adapt to between the two cars?
Well, gee, in the old days, you drive the car in hard and pitch it sideways, and you're on the gas real hard, and I went and did that, and my goodness, I went right to the back. These cars kind of drive themselves, and if you get them, you have to learn how to set them up right, and you just don't learn that very easy. With the 4-bar suspension, the rear end travels, and you get what's called rear steer in the car, and it's a totally different way of driving, and the cars hook up harder.
Especially on the exit. Yeah, I mean, the swing arms, you watch them get in, they got in pretty good, but they don't quite come off like them 4-bar cars, and they get them bars up and start digging. It's been an interesting transition, especially here in the Northwest, which now we're starting to see these guys kind of keep up with what's going on back east, but for so long we were, a couple years behind what was really going on back there. And now you got guys like, Koffel and the Duties and Davenport working with some of the bigger names back there to really step the game up out here. And it makes everybody do their homework underneath them. And it's been, I know myself, working on the Rayburns to the 4-bar cars, it was a tricky thing to learn. You guys seem like you're picking it up pretty good.
Yeah, because we've had quite a bit of help. I'm just an old logger trying to learn a new thing here, and these kids are sharp and been doing it, and I have to pay attention and learn from them. And yeah, it's been a slow process, but we're gaining. That makes it fun to keep learning like that and gain and stuff. So it's been enjoyable.
Well, yeah, and you've definitely, the 2 or 3 years you've been back in the late model, you've definitely showed improvements underneath you with a good crew, and you guys are really working hard at the racetrack. Every year you get a little faster, getting in the trophy dashes, getting up in there into the top 5s, and against the field of cars, especially at the track you race at, Willamette Speedway, you're talking, a top 5 is very, very respectable against the field of cars that you're running against.
Oh my goodness, I have a lot of respect for these racers, and it changes every year. Every few months it changes something, and you got to be right on top of it. But every little gain you make is a win. We don't have any real big wins in this class yet, but it's been really fun just progressing.
Well, you've been right there in the hunt for a couple of them, and it's neat for me to see you guys still doing this. It's a tough game, it's a physical game, it's a spendy game, but you still got Gil Pickett in the Super Sports, along with Bob Jeffrey and Darren Koffel in the late models, along with yourself, and Russ just retired, Russ Sell. But to see the guys that I grew up watching, I still get to see you guys. So that, for me, that's pretty cool. But then you've got this generation coming up behind you. These kids are really something else, with the Bryson James and the Justin Duty and the Colin Weinberger. And now we're starting to see a new breed coming behind them, with these young girls jumping in cars that are competitive.
Oh my goodness, I think we have some of the most talented kids out here in the whole nation. So that makes it tougher, for us old boys. I respect the kids, though. They're and these kids are a neat crop that's coming up. Some of them, they're pretty respectful. They've been racing a long time, and they're good to race with. So I think it's really neat.
It's been a lot of fun to watch. Talking with Darren Koffel yesterday, he made a statement to me. I had to giggle. I try to keep myself, level here on the mic, but he made a comment about, hey, finishing ahead of these kids, is really something else, because, they're so good and they're so fast. And he's talking about the respect that he has for them. And at the same time, I'm thinking, but these kids are thinking the same thing about you guys. When they finish ahead of you guys, hey, I just finished ahead of, Terry Hall or Darren Koffel or Russ Sell or, the top stars, Rob Maya. So when they finish ahead of you guys, for them, it's like really something. And for me to hear you guys say, well, we finished ahead of these kids, it's kind of it's a two-sided sword there, and it's been kind of fun to listen to how you guys, the perspective on both sides.
Oh yeah, you have to respect their talent and everything, and then their parents, the dedication, and what it takes to be good like that. It takes a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice. Those kids had to sacrifice a lot, and so you respect what they're accomplishing. And some of the parents make those kids really dig in and work hard, and you respect that too. And
that was another point that was brought up was you guys really developed these late model cars out here in the Northwest for what we're looking at in our area. And you've taken all that knowledge, between you and all the old veterans and have passed that down. And that's really where these kids are learning from. They're learning from you guys, everything that you guys have passed down to them. They're now bringing it up, and they're kind of improving that and tweaking on it and making these cars a little bit better with better equipment than what you guys had to learn with back in the, the 80s and in the early 90s.
Yeah, they've been able to hone their driving skills and working with good equipment. It's really helped them and stuff. And some of these kids will go on to be engineering students and will progress in other areas of their life too. They're sharp kids.
And that's true. There's a lot of kids out there. They're highly intelligent kids. They work hard. Good kids, got a good foundation under them. And I think we're going to see some guys out of the Northwest, whether it's Justin Duty or Weinberger or Bryson James or some of these young girls like Talon Roberts and Mikey Breakall and some of those girls coming up that really do have some talent and can have some opportunity to go somewhere in the big time.
If they get the financial backing, there's no doubt about it. The talent is here.
And that's the toughest thing right there, the financial backing that we've talked about multiple times, in all the interviews. It comes up because this is a very, very expensive sport, and without sponsors, we can't do it. Now, I know you've got a rough schedule. You're bouncing between the sprint car. You're going to be at Cottage Grove. We're going to see you there, right?
Yeah, we'll be racing Cottage Grove with the sprint there and stuff on a somewhat limited schedule. Then we're going to get back into the late model, and we're just working class people. I'm a timber faller, and so it's a struggle, but we love it, so we'll sacrifice.
Well, and that's what it's all about. The passion for the sport, doing something you love, and having the opportunity of being able to do that is, we're all thankful for that. But we've kind of talked over the winter a couple times off the air, and you've kind of mentioned, maybe heading down to California to race at the Budweiser Nationals. Is that something that maybe you're still looking at for the late summer months, or are you still going to kind of focus here in the Northwest region?
We'd love to go like that. It just depends on how it goes. If the cars are still running good, and if we're not broke at the end of the season or something, it'd be a neat deal. We go watch them, and it'd be fun to race. Yeah, sure it would.
That's a tough field of cars down there, but now you're going to have a shot at those guys. You don't have to go down to Bakersfield this year to the Bud Nationals because Clare Cup 2016, a lot of those guys are coming up, $5,000 to win at Willamette Speedway for the late models, and they're going to come up and take a shot at you guys at your home track.
That's exciting. It's like a real gunfight, real shootout. Those guys are going to be hungry, and that'd be a neat deal. I love that sort of thing, yeah.
Well, and California was, for so long, and I'm not slamming California here, but for so long they were behind in technology and the type of race cars we had up here in the Northwest for so long. The last 4 or 5 years, that's not the case. They've really stepped the game up. They've done their homework. They've caught up to what we're doing here in the Northwest. And I think, like you said, 2016 Clare Cup at Willamette Speedway is going to be one heck of a shootout because these guys are coming up here to say, hey, look, you guys come down to California, you run top 5, and that's a big deal. If they can get a top 5 up here, that's bragging rights for them.
Oh, that's a race you don't want to miss. That's going to be exciting. For sure. I'd like to be right in the middle of that one.
Well, it's going to be a great deal because there's a lot of guys that want to go down to that show, but everybody knows, like we've talked about, the racing and the cost of it and the sport and the travel alone. It's not just going down to pay the entry fee. It's the travel, the fuel, the lodging, the pit passes for your crew. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a couple $1,000s just to head down that way to race for 2 days and have a little bit of fun against, some of the best in California. But this year, a whole different deal. That expense is on them this year. So they're coming up here to run with you guys. And I'm telling you, I can't wait to see that one because you guys are going to, the Willamette Speedway guys are really going to step their game up knowing that, Papich and Toast and Obertello and Clay Daly and some of the big names out of California are coming up here to the Northwest to take a shot at you at the fastest 1/3 mile on the West Coast.
Yeah, they got some real guns down there in California. They got big sponsors and full-time rides, and they're hungry boys. It'd be and they know what they're up against up here. They're not dumb. They know what's coming, what's up here too, and so it'd be a good shootout.
Well, they do know. I mean, and that's the thing about the Oregon drivers heading down to California is there's a lot of respect, a lot of mutual respect on both sides. And, they'll race you hard, they'll race you clean. But I think that with the Clare Cup and the $5,000 on the line, it's going to be a little harder than what even they're used to or what we're used to up here in the Northwest. It's going to be a heck of a show. And, we're going to run that race in the memory of Claire Arnold. The Clare Cup is I can't believe how fast that particular race has established itself with such an elite status and bragging rights to win.
Yeah, Claire's spirit's still alive. Claire was real competitive. He'd have liked it himself, and so everybody's going to bring their best game there, and who knows who's going to pull it off.
But we will see you at the Clare Cup, because at that point your sprint car portion of your racing program should be wrapped up, and then we'll see you in the late model in kind of the later part of the early season.
Oh yeah, we want to get our late model up to par. We don't want to get it as good as some of the faster cars, and so we're going to take our time.